On February 21, 2006, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a unanimous decision affirming the right of O Centro Espírita Beneficente Uno do Vejito to continue the religious practice with the sacramental use of ayahuasca. That decision by the court, including a remand to a lower court, also established a legal frame requiring the DEA to establish an exemption process for the visionary churches to practice with ayahuasca. Since 2006, as part of that court mandate, the DEA has issued 0 exemptions. Exemption applications themselves have been sparse. Not so surprising, since by applying, churches are required by the regulatory agency to agree under penalty of perjury to agree not to engage in the religious practice until the DEA has determined that they are in fact a sincere and federally approved religious entity. The court never granted the DEA this authority. No one has. For those of you who follow things like the U.S. Constitution, the First Amendment grants the following. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. For this and a raft of other reasons, the DEA lacks the authority to openly defy the federal court for going on 15 years now. Against this backdrop, a lawsuit, it seems, was inevitable. In spring of 2020, in partnership with the North American Association of Visionary Churches, the NAAVC, and the Small Visionary Church, Arizona Yahweh Assembly, also known as AYA, sued the DEA in order to bring the DEA into compliance with the federal court mandate, federal statute, federal administrative law, and constitutional law. Quite seriously, the DEA had gone rogue and someone, it seemed, needed to call them on it. In fact, the NAAVC and AYA did just that, suing the DEA in federal district court. 2 weeks after the filing of that lawsuit, the DEA raided the home of Clay Villanueva, the director of a modest visionary church based in Phoenix, Arizona. Clay Villanueva also happens to sit on the 3-person board for the NAAVC, one of the very organizations that leveled the lawsuit against the DEA. The DEA called it a coincidence. In federal court, the NAAVC called it both witness tampering and retaliation.
The NAAVC, the North American Association of Visionary Churches, sent a letter to the DEA saying there's something wrong with this process and we really want to be legal with you guys. What paperwork do we need? Like, what do we need to do to be full above board? That was in January. And for nothing to happen until May 19th, seems like a really long time. You know, if it was some critical thing, you'd think within a couple months they could investigate and go. I personally think there is absolutely a connection that, the legal team filed this lawsuit against the DEA May the 6th. And then May the 19th at 8:30 in the morning was when this crew showed up at my door. 7 guys with automatic weapons break open my front gate and were about to break down my front door because they got a warrant. And the warrant, holy cow, man, it was for everything from, money laundering, tax evasion, drug production in a laboratory, distribution. It was, there were another probably 2 or 3 things on there. It was like everything they could find. And then when they came to the house, there was no distribution, there was no laboratory, there was no DMT extraction, there was no nothing. But there was ayahuasca because we're an ayahuasca church. So they came in, they handcuffed us, had my wife and I handcuffed in our front yard in our underwear. But it was a coordinated effort between the Arizona Attorney General, the Maricopa County where we are, their sheriffs, and the DEA. And I think there was one person who said that they were also on the Phoenix Police. So it was a mixed task force, but they were all wearing HIDTA t-shirts. That's the DEA's special group, is the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Task Force, because older couple in the 60s being a reverend of a church, like trying to help veterans especially, and minority women, and we're high drug trafficking crime. That's where because you gotta understand, the people they sent to our house, that is the their crack lab busting cartel hardcore team, which they sent to like the old people that were sheltering at home from COVID, and these guys come in with fully like guns ready to go, arresting us, touching us, and then they put a mask on us, just us, not them. They have no mask, no nothing. They're like, this is for your protection. I'm like, wow, isn't the thing about my mask protects you and your mask protects me? So basically, you're just putting this on us and you're protecting yourselves and you're like all over us. Just tore up our house completely. I was saving a little bit of money to try to buy a little better vehicle because my vehicle's 16 years old. You know, they took that. They took, I had medical marijuana plants growing, and they took all my equipment. They cut down the plants. They just totally wiped that out.
You're a licensed grower, by the way.
Yes, Arizona State. I had 2 patients that I was a caregiver for. Now, I did have some, like, the way that you propagate the marijuana is that you cut off little pieces and you clone them. And I had just cloned a bunch. So there was no THC in this. They were babies with almost no roots, and they counted them against me in the plants. So that's why they said I was a criminal with the marijuana, because I had just cloned, and the plants that actually were making THC, they were all licensed. But then these other ones that were going to replace these were about ready to go, they counted against me. So anyway, they got marijuana, my savings for a vehicle, all of our ayahuasca, and tore the house completely apart. And it was a pretty traumatic experience, considering we're the only group that has gotten that treatment, and there's many churches around, and like a simple letter up front would have been, you know, would have done the trick.
What's happened since the raid?
Well, since the raid, we have formulated with a magnificent team. We've got some awesome legal support, and they are moving forward with a suit against the DEA to get a DEA number, just like doctors have when they give prescriptions, because that was the original intention of the Supreme Court mandate, to make it so that we are not criminals and we can operate in the full light of day instead of hiding in the shadows. Because what we do really, I mean, the reason I do it is because it has saved my life and it's saving the lives of other people. So we are right now, we're in the legal system. We have, like I said, a really, really magnificent team, and our case is, I mean, it's super strong. But there is a lot of delay going on with the court system, as well as with COVID and changing judges and attorneys. And so we're very confident about our case, but we just don't know when things are going to go. This 3 days ago, we got, it was interesting how they came, because there were like a bunch of these letters that just regular mail. And then 2 more on top of them were certified mail for 2 people that they were in the regular mail. And the names on the certified letters were not even my wife or myself, which is who the search warrant was for. So, but anyway, these letters are from the Arizona Attorney General, and they are saying, hey, due to all of this stuff, which is the money laundering, the racketeering, the tax, like everything that was on the warrant, which there's been no proof of anything, no convict, like no crime has officially been proven to have been committed. They're like, yeah, we are going to seize your house. There it is, your house, the money that we took, and one little piece of like a vest bulletproof thing that my son had given me for my birthday. And so those are the 3 things that they decided they were going to seize. And yeah, so now we're running that by our attorneys, and we're going to see what there is to do to fight that.
And when did you start your church? How long have you had
2017.
2017. So
Yeah.
It's been ongoing for a number of years.
Yeah.
They had a warrant, right, to go into your house, right?
Search warrant, yes.
Search warrant. Did they mention that does it say on the warrant that they were raiding a church?
No mention of a church. They just, like, the warrant was all about if a different type of group had been, I don't know, appeared the way that we appear, like if they weren't saying, looking at us through the lens of being a church, then, you know, it would, in their eyes, fit into all these categories that they have us as being these terrible people. But all that stuff done illegally is what makes that the crime. Whereas having people come and taking sacrament, which affects your vision is a totally different thing than on the street selling crack or other drugs to people who don't know what's going on. So, in an illegal, unhealthy context, that's way not good. And I support them stopping that. But in our context, it's constitutionally approved. It's been approved by the Supreme Court. I mean, what we are doing is not what they are searching for.
So it makes you wonder why they're trying to take your house away and in fact try to take your church away as well.
Well, the funny thing is, they've never addressed the church, ever. It's always just like, oh no, it's just a guy, and there was some marijuana over there. Oh, and there's some Schedule I narcotics. Well, the truth is, it's not even, ayahuasca is not on the drug list of the DEA, the Controlled Substances Act.
It's not scheduled to.
It's not scheduled. So within ayahuasca, there's like a, 0.5% or, some minuscule amount, 5% or 1%, that has DMT in it. Now, DMT is a scheduled drug, but it's not a drug like, I don't know. Had you ever heard of DMT before ayahuasca? No. Had you ever seen how the street was it ever sold as a street? It's not a problem drug. But that's the one minute piece that's in the whole brew tea mix of ayahuasca, which there's all kinds of stuff in there that they're using to claim that is the big bad drug.
Okay. So it starts to look like this is harassment of a religious community. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree, but I think it's more that they just can't fathom the possibility that there is a healing, beneficial, spiritual element to any substance that can change your mental chemistry. I just believe that they're locked in this Neanderthal drugs. And you talk to most people and they're not even like, oh, well, what are we talking about? It's like, it's just this Neanderthalish drug thing. And that's what that was the conversation and the energy and the vibe of all this so far. It's just been like, oh, drugs, bad, we're going to get you. We're like, wait a minute. So I think that's the main thing, more than just philosophically, we just want to hurt them. I think they're just ignorant. They just don't know. And I would love for a bunch of DEA and any law enforcement to join the other law enforcement officers that have been through ceremony and actually be able to get a clue as to what's going on, that an ayahuasca church is nothing like anything they've ever seen called a drug, because it's a medicine. I think they're just resisting. Their organization is very set in its ways, and this appears to be in one of their buckets of that's something we're going to try to eradicate or take control of, and it legally does not fall in that bucket at all. And they are just a bit misguided and have not taken the time, because it's obviously not profitable for them to really even look at what they were told to do 20 years ago or 16 or whatever that was. So yeah, I think they're a bit misguided and overzealous and financially motivated.
So when you talk about 16 years ago, or maybe a little bit less, you're talking about the Supreme Court decision in the Uno de Vegetal case where DEA was required to set up an exemption process?
Exactly.
What do you think about that exemption process?
I don't know. It's kind of funny. It's been, 16 years or so since they were told to set up the process, and last I checked, there's been a grand total of 0 exemptions granted since they were mandated by the Supreme Court to actually go through that process. So if that's not resistance,
Here's one last question for you. So would you call what you're practicing religion?
Yeah, because if you religion is what you believe in the spiritual realm, and what your practices are, and your habits, and your what you do in the material world based on what you believe in the spiritual world. That's what I go by on religion. Many religions are kind of pre-structured for people. It's like, here's the religion, learn it, and that's our thing. Because most people are born into something. People are like, well, I'm a whatever they are, right? And but then you ask them, did you shop around for that religion? Like, no. Like, have you compared that to like all the other religions? No. Was that your parents' religion? Yes. So I believe ayahuasca churches, it is a religion, but because with ayahuasca, the doctrine or like what is really going on spiritually, it's not a mental thing to be memorized, like in the Bible, verse this, like that's not the way ayahuasca works. With ayahuasca, the gift comes in the actual sacrament, like what it is, the basic tenets and the benefits to you, and the spirit, everything comes, it's all in the medicine, and it's not about thinky, thought-formy, processing, judgment, yes, no, good, bad. That's not what it is. It's more of a like, this is a vehicle to take you to a place where you can see the material world, yet you can also see how the material world fits into the non-material world. And you can actually also communicate with other consciousness that's out in the universe that's not necessarily all tied onto the material world, just like us. I mean, we have a body, but yet if something happens to your body, that doesn't mean that your soul is damaged. So like most people know that you are not just your body. There's something else, but we have a hard time nailing down what that extra is. Is something that lives in here? Is something that lives in our brain, in our heart? Is it, like what is that other stuff? That's what ayahuasca works with. The other stuff that you have a hard time putting your finger on. And I believe that absolutely qualifies as a religion.
So now that we're under sale, we have a lawsuit, the DEA or the state of Arizona in connection with this case is threatening to take your house, and we're engaged in a fundraising effort. Do you have a message you'd like to get out to the world?
Just please send us some good energy, and we're sure everything will always be okay in the long run, But I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be in this exact position. It's very trying, absolutely, but I believe that the medicine itself needs to come out of any kind of shadow. It is a fully legitimate 5,000 years or more of use helping the human race. And this, like many other natural remedies that work really well, are being squashed because it takes away from the financial profit of the people that are selling the other stuff commercially that is not really having that great of an impact. So I'm grateful, and my biggest thing is to hope that everyone kind of at least learns a little bit about what is going on here and how there are magnificent other possibilities other than what you're being told by people who have an interest in your finances.
Hey, my friend. Well, thanks. Best of luck.
I love you. Thank you.
All right, brother. Take care.
It is time for us to stand up and claim the religious freedom to which we are entitled. Our objective is to free visionary churches across the U.S. from agency intimidation, in addition to halting illegal seizures of our community's religious sacrament. We are demanding to stand on equal footing with every religion in this country. We will not rest until our religious practice is freed from the presence of seizures, threats, and intimidation. We've made great strides. We have much farther to go in this case, much of it uphill. There's strength in numbers. Stand with us.